With me now, NIO Justice Minister Paul Goggins. Paul Goggins, it's actually Republican or suspected Republican arms were issued this week with an abandoned £300 bomb in Castlewell. And how big a threat do these groups remain?
Well, I want to begin by thanking the police and their technical colleagues for making this device safe. It was a dreadful device that could have caused a great deal of harm and loss of life, and those who put that device there are to be unreservedly condemned. And I encourage anybody with information to bring it to the police. This is an attack on the people of Northern Ireland, and people need to be taken out of the community and put behind bars where they belong.
Let's talk about the Loyalists then, Loyalist weapons. I mean, why bother extending at all? It seems as if the government are just bending over backwards.
Well, I hope this week that Parliament sends a very strong message to the Loyalist paramilitary organisations that there is no place in Northern Ireland for illegal weapons. And indeed, this is the very last chance that they have to use the decommissioning route to get rid of the weapons and to make them safe. We literally have a few months left whilst they can show that they mean business, and that we can turn what the Secretary of State described as meaningful progress into significant progress. And that means actions, not just words.
OK, well, why should we believe you on this occasion, though? Because the Secretary of State said in May that, as for those who still retain their weapons, take very careful note of what I'm saying. He said these structures are now time-limited. They're not here forever. The legal routes to decommissioning will go sooner rather than later. Now, it appears that, in fact, they will now go later rather than sooner.
No, the whole arrangement comes to an end in February of next year, and we've made it clear that we will not be seeking any further renewal. Indeed, we need fresh legislation in order to do that. So this is the very last renewal. And we thought long and hard about whether to bring this back to Parliament. But given that the Decommissioning Commission have told us that meaningful progress is being made, that guns and other weaponry could be taken out of the community and made safe, then we've heeded that advice. But the message is loud and clear. There's no place for those illegal weapons, and they need to be out of the community.
Well, you say meaningful progress has to become significant progress. Is that within the 6-month review period?
Indeed, we'll be asking the Commission to give us an update report after 6 months, so that takes us into August, September time, to tell us whether significant progress has been made. If that progress has been made, then obviously we'll allow the decommissioning arrangements to continue until next February. But we've made it clear, if there's no significant progress, then as soon as the summer recess is over, we go back to Parliament and we end the decommissioning arrangements.
But the definition of that, I suppose, is what people will be wondering about. If you're going to require a report to find out if there's been significant progress, it suggests that we're not necessarily talking about product. Will you require decommissioning to have happened within that 6-month period?
Well, the Commission will never give a running commentary about what may have been handed over at any particular time. But they will be asked to report on whether there has been significant progress. And by that we mean action, not just words. We don't want to hear that there's further conversations going on that may lead somewhere. Now is the time for action. And unless there's action in this first 6 months period of the new renewal year, then we will go back to Parliament, we'll annul the order and bring the whole decommissioning arrangements to a premature end.
What's the trade-off in all of this with Republicans? Sinn Féin had the promise of access to power if the IRA gave up its weapons. What are Loyalists looking for, and what are you offering?
There's no promise, although the giving up of weapons by the Provisional IRA has given an indication that you can move from conflict into politics. And I would certainly be encouraging people from Loyalist communities to get involved and engaged in the political process so that they can produce the answers to the many problems that Loyalist communities face in Northern Ireland. And it's interesting that actually, as we've listened to various voices and representations over recent weeks, some of the loudest are coming from people within those Loyalist communities who are sick and tired of the criminality and of those organisations with the weapons. They want an end to it more than anybody else. And certainly, if they can engage in the political progress, that would be a really positive step forward.
Another big issue this week, of course, has been the consultative group on the past, the Ames-Bradley report, handed to the British government. The Prime Minister said he would consider the report with great care. Does that include considering the recognition or acknowledgement payments?
Well, of course, that's one recommendation amongst more than 30 recommendations in the report, and I'm glad that now we're beginning to see that there wasn't just one recommendation, the recognition payments, but there are many more. A lot is said in that report about what to do to help young people move forward so that the next generation can move away from the conflicts of the past. A whole series of recommendations which we will give very careful consideration to. It's a very serious report and it deserves that proper consideration.
What proposals do you see particular merit in?
Well, I think it's important, of course, that we look at how the past is dealt with in terms of unresolved murders. And one of the issues which the report deals with is how to complete the work that the Historical Enquiries team is currently undertaking. It also recommends, of course, that there are no more public inquiries, which is also a very important recommendation that we'll want to consider. But all of this, of course, has to be looked at in the round, and that's what we'll do.
It's interesting that you hone in on that aspect, because the cynics will see within this report a gift, if you like, to the British government to draw a line under the past. It recommends a 5-year process, and then it's over. I mean, it seems to be almost a recommendation that has more to do with accountancy than accountability.
Absolutely not, and it's not the interests of the British government that come first here. It's the interests and the wishes of the people of Northern Ireland, and that's why the work of the group under Robin Eames and Dennis Bradley has been out and about, talking to people, listening to victims. That really is the most important aspect of this work. It's not the interests of the British government that matter most. It's the interests of the people of Northern Ireland.
And who makes the decisions on this? This report has gone to the British government, commissioned and set up by the NIO. Will it be a British government decision as to what happens?
Well, the government commissioned the report, and we will now consider it carefully and come forward with our own conclusions and with any proposals for action that we intend to take, but we'll give it very, very careful consideration.
Will you be relying on input from the Assembly?
Well, of course, that's very important now. The Assembly is up and running, doing its work, and is the significant democratic institution in Northern Ireland. So, of course, we'll engage very closely with them.
But do they have a veto?
No veto, but we work together. That's the way modern politics in Northern Ireland is working, and, of course, we hope that in the very near future we will devolve policing and justice powers and give even more democratic control and accountability to the people of Northern Ireland.
Does it play into the devolution of policing and justice? For instance, we've had some unionist politicians in particular saying we have a veto on this, we can stop, for instance, the acknowledgement payments, which have been the controversial aspect so far. Are you saying to the executive, well, if you want to have control over this issue, then devolve policing and justice?
I don't think that's the way forward. I think we obviously recognise that all these issues play one into the other. How we deal with the past, how we deal with the future, how we extend democracy, all of these things play one into the other. But there's no veto, there's no sense that we will do this, we won't do that, we'll force people into that position. We have to have proper discussion, proper debate, listen carefully and move forward.
And within the issue of policing and justice now, of course, the executive is looking at the issue, working through the process. No deadline has been set, but obviously you've got to prepare for this if it is devolved. What deadline are you working towards?
Well, we have no firm deadline, but we are working hard to make sure that we can deliver, because there are certain things that the British government will need to do in order to deliver devolution of policing and justice powers. So we work very carefully, of course, with the First Minister, Deputy First Minister, with other members of the Executive and the Assembly. We'll work together carefully with them, we listen carefully, we talk to each other on a constant basis. What matters is that we do this properly rather than doing it quickly. But of course there's some urgency there. We want to do this because it's the right thing to do.
And you're ready to do it quickly if needs be?
We are ready to do it. We made it clear in the St Andrews Agreement and beyond that we would always be ready for the next stage. We are ready. We're in discussion constantly, of course, about these issues. We'll do it when the time is right. But there's no excuse now, and both the First Minister and the Deputy First Minister have made it clear they want to act without undue delay. Well, we want to work with them on that basis, and as we do so, as confidence grows, then we can, with confidence, hand over these powers to the politicians of Northern Ireland and do so with absolute confidence for the future.
Paul Goggins, many thanks indeed.